Straight ahead on Law&Crime Daily. The final witness of the case is called in Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard.
And this is humiliating for any human being to go through.
And
you tried to get her fired from the Aquaman after the temporary restraining order, didn't you?
Well, what is related to the story about me getting
Just yes or no, Mr. Depp.
Johnny Depp's testimony gets heated. Plus, an ex-TMZ employee pushes back on cross-examination.
I'm not seeking any 15 minutes here, though you're welcome to speculate. I could say the same thing by taking Amber Heard as a client for you.
And later, a look ahead to closing arguments.
I think they're going to have to cover a lot of ground, but they want to be thematic about it.
What you can expect to hear from both sides. Law&Crime Daily covering court cases from coast to coast. Welcome everyone to Law&Crime Daily. I'm your host, Brian Buckmeyer. Both sides rest in the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard defamation trial. This after Heard takes the stand once again. Law&Crime Network correspondent Jesse Weber is live at the Fairfax County Courthouse with the highlights of day 23. Jesse?
Hey, Brian. Yeah, this was the day we saw the conclusion of the presentation of evidence, and it started off with Dr. Richard Gilbert, an orthopedic surgeon who testified that the injury to Johnny Depp's finger from that Australia 2015 incident was consistent with Depp's narrative that Heard threw a vodka bottle at him, shattering. He discussed how this was a fracture caused by force and by an instrument that creates a laceration, that this was not from smashing or pinching. However, on cross-examination, he did acknowledge that this injury could have been caused by multiple things. From there, it was a computer forensic investigator called by Heard to support her argument that the photos of her alleged bruised face were authentic originals and not edited. Forensic psychologist Dr. Dawn Hughes testified once again to defend her conclusions and tests regarding Heard's PTSD diagnosis after facing criticism from Dr. Shannon Curry the day earlier. But then, of course, it was Amber Heard back on the stand, and she focused on the counterclaims, the alleged defamatory Depp-Adam Waldman statements, and the pain and humiliation of Depp's actions.
How did Mr. Depp's statements and threats to you, how do those continue to manifest themselves today?
In the harassment and the humiliation, the campaign against me that's echoed every single day on social media and now in front of cameras in this room. Every single day I have to relive the trauma. My hands shake. I wake up screaming. I have to live with the trauma and the damage done to me. My friends have to live with a set of unspoken rules about how to not touch me, not to surprise me. My intimate partners have rules about how they can deal with me, how they can touch me. I have rules for doctors and medical professionals I see, gynecologists I see. I live my life with these sets of rules that I have to follow, my friends have to follow for me not to have a panic attack or a triggering event. From what I've survived, I'm not sitting in this courtroom snickering. I'm not sitting in this courtroom laughing, smiling, and making snide jokes. This is horrible. This is painful. And this is humiliating for any human being to go through. And perhaps it's easy to forget that, but I'm a human being. And even though Johnny promised that I deserve this and promised he'd do this, I don't deserve this. I want to move on.
But then things got very tense when she was questioned by Camille Vasquez for round 2 of cross-examination.
You told this jury under oath that Mr. Depp was aggressive and trashed a trailer in Hicksville. You didn't expect the manager of the Hicksville property, Morgan Knight, to come forward and testify that that was untrue, did you?
Incorrect. I've already been through trials with this man. I know how many people will come out in support of him.
When you told this jury under oath that you had no idea that the paparazzi would be at the courthouse on May 27th, 2016, you didn't expect a TMZ employee to show up to testify that TMZ had been alerted that you would be at the courthouse and knew exactly which side of your face to take a picture of, did you?
I know how many people will come out and say whatever for him. That's his power. That's why I wrote the op-ed. I was speaking to that phenomenon. How many people will come out in support of him and will fall to his power? He is a very powerful man, and people love currying favor with powerful men.
Currying
and I know
favor
that
and
firsthand.
risking jail time for committing perjury?
Excuse me? I didn't hear your question.
You didn't hear my question?
Ms. Vasquez, if you do mind, please just repeat the question. I didn't hear you.
Curry favor and commit perjury in this courtroom?
I have seen people do this.
For a powerful man?
I have seen people do this time and time again. That's why I wrote the op-ed.
So clearly it was a strategic move on Heard's part to be the last witness to be testifying. The question, of course, is did it pay off? Well, we've got closing arguments and a potential verdict to find out. Brian?
I mean, that is the question, Jesse, so I'm gonna ask it right off the top of the bat. Heard gave a very impassioned direct. Do you think that pushed the needle of the case in her favor?
Well, if you don't believe Amber Heard from the beginning, then no. If you're on the fence, then maybe. I mean, she really humanized the pain. She spoke to this jury. She related to this jury. And by saying and confirming that she was psychologically, mentally, physically abused by Johnny Depp, that is what she needs to show in order to overcome Johnny Depp's defamation claim. Johnny Depp had his last time on the stand to tell his story. She did the same thing.
Yeah. And then now we got to look at the cross-examination, because Camille Vasquez, she's been very effective in cross-examinations throughout the entire case. But here we saw some sharp barbs. But did Heard's explanation make sense, though?
This was an A-plus cross-examination, in my opinion. I mean, she got Amber Heard to lose her cool. Amber Heard became argumentative, and certain of the responses from Amber Heard, didn't quite make sense. The idea that anybody who disagreed with Amber Heard's account must be a Johnny Depp fan or a Johnny Depp protector, it might not be believable. And I know that she said that she had no role in tipping off TMZ or giving them the video, but of course the jury now knows that idea, and they saw that photo of her leaving with her friend after the TRO was filed, smiling, no bruise on her face. It could be problematic for Amber Heard in the end of the day.
Yeah. And then at the end, we kind of got a little technical. So my question for you, what can you gather from the charge conference? What facts will be most important in the closing arguments?
Okay, actual malice, that definition is going to be absolutely huge for the jury for the defamation claim, trying to show that it was done, the statements were made with falsity or reckless disregard for the truth. Also, whether or not Amber Heard's tweeting of the Washington Post article constitutes republication, because she said she didn't write the headline, the sexual violence headline. She said the Washington Post did that, but if the jury accepts that this was republication, they can attribute it to Amber Heard, and that could also be problematic for Amber Heard to say that she was actually sexually assaulted by Johnny Depp.
Yeah, some very interesting and important technical points to this case that will have large repercussions for closing arguments. Jesse, stick with us for just a second. We'll be back in a moment. Still ahead on Law and Crime Daily, a closer look at Johnny Depp's rebuttal case. Our analysts break down the major points of Depp's cross-examination. That's ahead on Law and Crime Daily. Welcome back. As part of Johnny Depp's rebuttal case this week, the actor took the stand for a second time. On cross-examination, Heard's attorneys asked Depp about Heard's role in Aquaman.
You were pretty angry after Miss Heard got her temporary restraining order, weren't you?
Angry. I was, more than anything, I was hurt.
And you testified earlier this morning, you claimed that you somehow were responsible for her getting the role with Warner Brothers, correct? That's what you testified to this morning. You also tried to get her fired from Aquaman, didn't you? After the temporary restraining order.
Which question would you like me to handle first?
One question, sir. You tried to get her fired from the Aquaman after the temporary restraining order, didn't you?
Well, what is related to the story about me getting?
It just yes or no, Mr. Depp. I
So
didn't ask
does
what
not
related,
come down to
what
yes
story
or no at all
related to.
times. I can't please you with a yes or a no every single time.
It's a yes or no question, Mr. Depp. You tried to get Ms. Heard fired, didn't you?
Answer's no.
Joining us today is criminal defense attorney Jack Rice, co-host Terry Austin, and Law and Crime's Jesse Weber. Jack, how did Depp's cross go compared to the first time he was cross-examined?
It's always about risk versus reward. His first time on the stand was absolutely brilliant. He missed nothing. He came across as self-deprecating, funny, really honest. Pulling the curtain back, that was amazing. The problem in this particular case is what I found that he was a little more defensive, and I think he opened himself up a little bit, and I really questioned just the benefit that he brought the second time around.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's the risk you play when you have a witness or a client testifying more than once. Terry, two different versions of why Depp made that call to Warner Brothers. Which one rings true to you?
Well, I think, either one could be true, and that's going to be up for the jury to decide. But Heard claims that Depp tried to get her fired after the TRO. What he says is that he initially got her the job. They were concerned about her acting ability, and he said, listen, don't worry. And he claims that he called them, and he wasn't trying to get them fired. He just wanted to clarify what was going on. He was in one franchise, she was in another franchise, and he wanted to make sure that Warner Brothers understood what was going on out in the press because they were hearing these rumors. So it just depends on what the jury thinks.
Yeah, an ex trying to mess up another's career makes sense, but also rescinding your kind of praise of someone after you realize something about them also makes sense. But Jesse, the question is this argument about what Depp said to Warner Brothers another credibility argument, or does it go directly to the heart of the Washington Post op-ed?
I believe this goes to the heart of the idea that he was trying, or the allegation was that he was trying to ruin her whole life, to destroy her whole career. It goes to the counterclaim argument that he and Adam Waldman were orchestrating this campaign to tarnish her reputation, to tarnish her credibility. And I think that's what it's really centered on top of the fact they're also trying to make the point that he was vindictive and mean. And if this is what he was engaging with towards her after their relationship, then what was he doing during the course of their relationship? And it maybe supports the overall abuse allegations.
Well, both sides have 2 hours in closing arguments. I'm sure we're going to hear this and so much more. Jesse, as always, thank you for the stellar reporting. Looking forward to hearing from you soon.
Thanks, Brian.
Coming up on Law and Crime Daily, a last-minute witness makes an internet splash. Why Elaine Benhoff called the former TMZ employee argumentative during testimony. Welcome back. A former TMZ employee becomes a last-minute witness for Depp's team, testifying about Heard's restraining order photos taken after TMZ received a tip. On cross-examination, things got heated with Heard's attorney.
Ms. Heard was filing a restraining order at a courthouse in downtown Los Angeles, so I dispatched camera people to that location.
Under what circumstances would you normally send paparazzi to a courthouse?
Only if we had been informed prior. It's not by any means a celebrity hotspot. We would only ever send people there if we had been tipped off that something was occurring and there was somebody present there.
And what footage was TMZ trying to capture at the LA courthouse on May 27th, 2016?
We were trying to capture Amber leaving the courthouse and an alleged bruise on the right side of her face.
What was your team of paparazzi supposed to do while they were at the Los Angeles courthouse on May 27th, 2016?
Their objective was to capture her leaving the courthouse, and then she was going to sort of stop and turn towards the camera to display the bruise on the right side of her face, the alleged bruise.
Did your team of videographers get the shot of Amber Heard?
We did.
So this gets you your 15 minutes of fame, doesn't
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative.
I can ask that question.
Overruled.
So I stand to gain nothing from this. I'm actually putting myself kind of in a target of TMZ, a very litigious organization, and I'm not seeking any 15 minutes here. Though you're welcome to speculate. I could say the same thing by taking Amber Heard as a client for you.
A little argumentative, don't you think?
Oh, hardly. I find that to be purely logical.
A little argumentative. It's a great point. But Terry, do you think it was effective for Depp to call the TMZ representative?
Oh my gosh, Brian. Yes, yes, yes. I think Morgan Tremaine was excellent. He was last minute. So frankly, they didn't have to give him notice because it was a rebuttal witness. And so it surprised, I think, the other team. And he testified about this tip that he got about the TRO and coming to the courthouse and taking photos of her bruise. And no one else would have been able to give that information but either Amber Heard or someone on her team. He also got a tip about her deposition, and they were able to get her arriving at the deposition. But the biggest thing was that video of, Depp slamming those cabinets. That had to come from Heard. She copied it, and she admitted that she took it, and they were able to download it in 15 minutes. And you can only do that if it comes from the source, and she edited it. He was brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And yes, he was argumentative, but not too argumentative.
Yeah. Now, Jack, his response turned into a bit of a viral moment, so to speak, and we're all laughing about it. But the question is, how's this going to play out in front of the jury? What do you think?
I don't think the jury likes Heard's lawyer very much. And I think good for the goose. The problem is you roll that out there, you better be prepared for what comes back at you. And I think that's how the jury saw this, because to some degree, I think they're looking at all the lawyers like that. I mean, we're not exactly the highest on the list of people they trust anyway. Isn't that true?
I don't know. I'm a public defender. Everyone trusts me, Jack. No one ever thinks that public defenders lie. That's what my wife tells me. We're very trustworthy people. But
I'm sure your wife would never lie to you. Never. Oh my God.
But I agree with you. It's gonna be interesting to see how it plays. It's all about credibility and sometimes likability. So we'll see where the jury is swayed on this and so many other issues. When we come back, a look ahead at closing arguments, who will present for each side, and what you can expect in the final moments of the trial. Welcome back. After 6 weeks of testimony, we're inching closer to the highly anticipated closing arguments in the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial. Law&Crime Network's Sierra Gillespie explains what we could expect to see in closings.
This is what you've been dreaming of your whole life. You do a closing argument in a huge jury trial like this, and this one's going to be on national TV. All eyes are focused. I mean, if you wanted to be a lawyer, this is what you wanted.
6 weeks of testimony will culminate in only 4 hours of closing arguments, 2 hours per side.
When they sum it up, they have to make sure they focus on the theme of their case ever since they stated it in the opening statement. And then also they have to make sure that they hit all the elements of the defamation claim. They have to pull all of the pictures, the recordings, which we've heard so much. No one cares. The testimony.
I didn't know if the bottle that he had inside me was broken.
It made contact and shattered.
Put that in a cohesive story that the jury can bring with them during deliberation.
Closings are expected to be presented for Depp's side by Camille Vasquez and Benjamin Chu.
Camille Vasquez definitely is sort of the breakthrough star of the show here. I bet she's the one who's going to address the question of whether Amber Heard was actually abused by Johnny Depp. Ben Chu probably has the overall task of kind of tying the case together. Maybe he'll do the damages part of the case for Johnny Depp.
Heard's closing argument is expected to be presented by Elaine Bredehoff and J. Benjamin Rottenborn.
Ben Rottenborn will probably take on Johnny Depp, try to assert that he was an abuser. And I think Elaine Bredehoff will probably address the other issues, the experts, the damages, and Amber Heard's counterclaim.
Closings are set to be presented on Friday. Reporting for Law&Crime Network, I'm Sierra Gillespie.
All right, Jack, what are we expecting will be Heard's strongest arguments? Or what will they likely argue the most to beat Depp's claim and win their counterclaim?
I would make broad-based themes in a case like this. The brutality that she saw, the pain, the anguish, the destruction of Amber Heard. If you look back at the Washington Post op-ed, what she wrote was that a powerful man will come in and take the abused and destroy them at every single level. And if you look at what's happened to Amber Heard at every single level, will she ever work again? Will anybody ever believe her at any level about anything? Does it matter what she does now? Would it make any difference because a powerful man has done exactly what she said? Me Too is real, and the problem is Johnny Depp did exactly what it is that she claimed he would do. This is proof. One is the other. She is bookended by both.
All right, I think Brendan Hoff and Rottenborg are probably taking notes right now, listening to Jack Rice as to what that closing argument will be. Terry, same question. How do you win the claim, beat the counterclaim, but for Johnny Depp's side?
Well, I think what Johnny Depp has to do, and I think he's done it for the most part, He has to prove that that Washington Post article was about him. And not many people noticed, but today Heard actually slipped up and said she wrote that article to confront, what did Jack say? Depp's power and influence. So there's no question that article was about Johnny Depp. He also has to show that her comments were false and it was made with malice because, of course, he's a public figure. And we know that her injuries have been exaggerated. They haven't been documented. And so if you conclude, and a jury might conclude, that all of this violence did not occur, therefore those comments were false, and she made those comments maliciously. I think it will be a little bit harder, Brian, for Depp to prove those counterclaims because we know the judge has already ruled that Waldman, his attorney, those comments are his because Waldman is his agent. If that's the case, those were damaging. And we have to see whether or not the jury connects those comments to damages. So we'll see what happens at that part.
There's a lot to consider here as we edge closer and closer to closing arguments. Thank you both. And of course, thank you for joining us here on Law and Crime Daily. We'll see you next time as we discuss justice in America.